Well, Lauren Boebert, a kind of MAGA firebrand Republican congresswoman from Colorado, is currently in a very, very tight race. And it looks like it's quite possible she could lose there, which would be unexpected. She's a kind of well-known in conservative media, a lot of, again, fiery appearances.
Very pro-Trump, pictured frequently holding AK-47s, famously said that she is not a big fan of the separation between church and state. Many deleted tweets, has very much been an advocate of using trans rights, pronouns, etc. as a wedge issue. Seems not to have been working out for her in the state of Colorado. Apparently, Jen Psaki tweeted that her father lives in her district and warned her a month ago that Lauren Boebert was at risk, and Jen Psaki didn't believe it, but here we are today. Despite predictions, Lauren Boebert's most recent tweet was that a red wave has begun. She hasn't tweeted since then, and it definitely seems like those expectations have not come to pass, not only for the Republican Party at large, but for the candidate herself. Robby, you've been talking a lot about candidate choice and how these Trump candidates just can't make it. She was not one of the ones that we really had our eye on this whole election season, but do you feel validated?
Yeah, I mean, I want to wait till the rest of the results come in, but I think let's go back to the idea that it's something we've talked about on the show, that voters wanted a return to normalcy in some ways. In some sense, that's what they thought they were voting for, I think, when they voted for when Joe Biden beat Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a carnival show. And they wanted to get back to normal. And maybe they're telling us that again, because we're seeing kind of these more extreme personalities in the MAGA side, or just personalities in general. Dr. Oz isn't really an extreme MAGA person, although he did enjoy Donald Trump's support, which did help him get the nomination, but is a personality, is a TV personality, no history in politics, not an average Joe who, didn't even live in the state.
Right.
Whereas you have, the successful, if we're pointing to successful figures in the Republican coalition lately, I would say Brian Kemp, Glenn Youngkin, Ron DeSantis as well, but people who don't have the kind of eccentricity, who are not just kind of living in right-wing media and saying the most extreme things and absolutely all about Trump and about 2020. Those people, the people who have done all of those things, including, it looks like, possibly Boebert, are facing a lot of challenges, and I think that's because, I'll say, I probably sound like a broken record at this point, but it emerges that what the hardcore element of the Republican Party wants is not what your more centrist, moderate Republicans, independents, and some probably Democrats who could vote for Republicans in certain. There's a long history in blue states.
Yeah, absolutely.
In Massachusetts, of blue voters. Maine, blue voters, especially in the Northwest, but elsewhere, choosing occasionally Republican governors when they like that person has a moderate cadence and personality and is inoffensive, and it maybe is a corrective to some local policies that have gone too far left or something, or too progressive or whatever. They can win. Look at Susan Collins.
Yeah, my best friend works for the Republican governor in Massachusetts, and it's a mixed bag in terms of the politics of the people who work in that office, because they are moderate and reasonable, and he's well liked in the state. Yeah. So like we said, the race hasn't been finally called, but here's some images from the election party from earlier in the night versus later in the night that certainly suggest the direction things are heading. You see some crestfallen voters there on the right as compared to the excitement that existed earlier. And to your point earlier about the tenor of the language that we have come to expect from Lauren Boebert, her second to last tweet was, "They called you cockroaches. They called you cult members. They called you extremists. They called you terrorists. Today, we call them losers. Hashtag red wave." We'll see if this actually is that kind of rhetoric kind of coming back to bite her, or if there are a lot of people out there who are still very motivated by what they feel like are unfair attacks from liberals who characterize all of them as Lauren Boeberts, even though she's a one in a million.
And I don't want to come across as like too squishy. Like I would prefer on COVID policies, I support what are generally tagged now as like quite conservative policies. Probably on some other areas I would feel differently, but the rhetoric at least could be. It's the performance, it's the theatricality that is hurting these Republican candidates. Remember the House GOP tweet? Maybe we have that too, tweeting Elon, Musk, Elon, Kanye, Trump. Like, these are the figures who we're going to turn to. Elon is by far the most respectable of those three. Kanye, Trump. These are these winning people? That's what Republican party operatives, comms people think is the winning personality mix to win over swing voters, people in the middle. I don't think that has a very good track record at this point.
Yeah, there's a lot of critique of Democrats. We saw this from Candace Owens in a segment yesterday for over-investing in celebrity, and then you see a tweet like that, and you kind of got to wonder where the GOP's head is, or at least the GOP Twitter runner is headed.
And Democrats, since the beginning of time, all the annoying videos where a bunch of celebrities say whatever.
I believe Katy Perry dancing with Hillary Clinton and the like. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that doesn't help anyone either. But Republicans are supposed to recognize that and not fall for the exact same thing.
Not back the open anti-Semite weeks before the midterms. Maybe is not the right way to go. But we will let you know what ends up happening in the Lauren Boebert race and have more rising for you and so many others. Stick around.